Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's Meet a Vendor webinar hosted by Circles. I'm Christy Doe, Shortlisters Meet a Vendor webinar moderator, and I'm really glad you could join us today. Before I turn things over to today's presenters, I'd like to review a few quick housekeeping items, especially for those of you who may be first-time attendees. Our Meet a Vendor webinars take place on Wednesdays at 1 p.m. Central Time. We use a condensed format of 30 minutes, and that includes a 25-minute presentation, followed by 5 minutes of questions. To submit a question, you should see a box at the top of your screen with a question mark in it. Just tap that box, type in your question, and send it over to me, and we'll get to as many of those as we can during the time that remains after the presentation. For our subscribers, our Meet a Vendor webinars are recorded, and you can go to Circle's vendor profile and find it there. So with that, I am going to hand things over to today's presenters. We have Craig Window, President, and Kathy Lebow, Vice President of Business Development with Circles.
Hi, everyone. Just to let you know what we're going to be covering today. First, we're covering a brief overview of Circles, and then 3 key trends that we've identified impacting businesses today, as well as some real-life client examples. And attendees are going to receive Circles Q1, Q2 2026 Trends Report as a thank you for attending. Craig, I'll turn it over to you.
Great, thanks, Kathy. Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining us. Before we jump into the trends, I wanted to take a moment to quickly explain what Circles does. So at a high level, we help employees handle the personal and workplace logistics that get in the way of their day. Today, we're supporting over 500,000 unique employees each year, and we're handling over 1 million interactions through a mix of our on-site teams and our digital services that we offer. We also operate in 26 countries, and we've been doing this for nearly 3 decades across industries like biotech, technology, financial services, and healthcare, working with organizations such as Fidelity Investments, Visa, Biogen, and Mayo Clinic. And at Circles, I think our goal is simple. We help organizations create workplaces where employees can feel supported, connected, and able to stay focused on their work. And what we've seen, especially over the last few years, is that employees don't want just more benefits. They want support that actually fits their lives. And where that usually shows up is in life moments, things like getting married, having kids, moving to a new city, or caring for an aging parent. These moments are really exciting, but they're also very time consuming and stressful. They pull attention away from work and eat up mental bandwidth. And that's where Circle steps in. We take on those personal logistics and give them back time and focus. And I think that's something everyone could use more of. And on average, each interaction saves about 3.5 hours of work that an employee would otherwise spend researching, coordinating, scheduling on their own. And that's really the shift that we're seeing from offering benefits to actually delivering support that people can feel and measure in their day-to-day life. And I'll turn it over to you, Kathy.
Great. So I'm just going to quickly cover our 3 core services. In general, our workplace hospitality solutions reduce stress and burnout. They improve work-life balance, well-being, productivity, recruitment, and retention, and even align with Great Place to Work and Return to Office initiatives. So our work-life balance programs include concierge and errand running with 24/7, 365-day virtual and on-site options. This is a highly personalized service. And examples of some of the things that we provide on a regular basis, we're a certified travel agency. So we provide full itineraries for personal travel. We also source and book tickets to shows, concerts, sporting events. We do restaurant reservations, find appropriate gifts and flowers, even event planning, where we might be helping with a kid's birthday party or a family reunion or even a wedding. And pet care is popular, groomers, pet sitters, as well as errand running, which will get your groceries or pick up your dry cleaning, even doing shipping and personal returns. Our community engagement services, those foster connected, inspired workplaces. And our on-site community managers are hired, trained, and managed by Circles. In these instances, we can plan custom events, host seasonal celebrations, coordinate team building, wellness activities, manage your volunteer programs, and even develop community partnerships. And our employee and guest services create welcome and personalized workplaces with Circles on-site hospitality staff. Those include things like personalizing the guest greeting, managing VIP experiences, even streamlining check-in and badging, booking and managing conference rooms, really enhancing companies' on-site amenities and wellness services, and even providing personalized food and beverage options. Now we're going to move to the top 3 trends that we want to cover: employee burnout and how to build resilient teams, aligning benefits to modern life demands, and return to office initiatives which reimagine the employee experience. So our first trend is beyond burnout. I'm sure you've seen research on how employee burnout is impacting performance. Only 23% of employees are actively engaged globally, which is very low. The term quiet cracking, you may or may not have heard before. I think it's really interesting. So that's where employees maintain performance, but they're really experiencing internal stress, dissatisfaction, and disengagement. So what are leading organizations doing? They're identifying these sources of stress and providing supportive benefits. They're training their managers and redesigning workplaces to lower the stress factors, and even using AI to spot and address patterns. So I'll turn it over to Craig now. He's going to talk about one of our healthcare organizations, WellStar, and the successes we've had there.
Yeah, thanks, Kathy. I wanted to bring the trend to life with an example. So one of the organizations that we work with is WellStar Health System. It's one of the largest healthcare systems in the state of Georgia. And obviously, burnout in clinical roles isn't a new topic for anyone, right? The challenge at WellStar wasn't general awareness. Everyone knew that stress levels were high. The real issue for their employees was time scarcity and stress layered on top of already very demanding roles. So instead of adding more programs or communications, their approach was really simple. They wanted to remove pressure from their employees. So partnering with WellStar, we put a model in place that could really help scale across the entire health system. So that included 11 dedicated errand runners positioned across 7 hospitals and 10 of their largest outpatient facilities. And that structure reached about 75% of their employee population. So, and then we extended digital support as well, helping employees outside of work, like, with things like vacation planning, meal prep, finding summer camps, or sourcing home service providers. And employees use that service for things that quietly consume all of their mental bandwidth and time. And the impact's been very, very meaningful. So in 2025 alone, we supported more than 8,500 of their employees, completed over 18,000 errands, and were able to return more than 78,000 hours back to their workforce for WellStar. And over 94% of employees who use it say they felt more valued because they had access to the service. So the takeaway here is pretty simple. Resilience isn't built through more programs or additional messaging. It's built by helping employees reduce everyday friction that we know is carried with them wherever they are. And I'll turn it to Kathy to talk on trend number 2.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment on that trend, though. We are seeing a lot, specifically with healthcare, that support for physicians and nurses is really key to help reduce stress and burnout. So for those of you that maybe have healthcare clients, that may resonate. Okay, our second trend, aligning benefits to modern life demands. So we're seeing many organizations that have outdated benefit structures, and that's leading to inefficiencies and minimal value. Really looking at modern benefit strategies, they need to be centralized for all employees to use them and covering the entire employee life cycle and stages. We want to include personalized support, which could be financial planning, caregiving, and even concierge services. The benefits need to be aligned to retention and productivity goals. And they need to remove all complexities. So we're seeing perhaps less vendors doing more, but with very easy access. So employees can utilize those services in a very streamlined way. And also the strategy, we're seeing a lot of companies analyzing what benefits are being used and which are not, and really readjusting and allocating budget and money to those that are going to have a greater impact on the workforce. And even using AI to personalize these types of benefits. So I'll pass it back to Craig. So we're going to talk, he's going to talk about one of our financial services clients.
Yeah, thanks, Kathy. I think another good example for this trend comes from Fidelity Investments, where their focus really was benefits navigation. And I think we all know most organizations don't actually have a shortage of benefits, right? I think what they have is a navigation problem. There's dozens and dozens of vendors and resources available, but employees don't always know what to use, when to use it, or how it actually applies to them in their day-to-day life. And I think Fidelity, when they partnered with Circles, they really wanted to shift that experience away from these kind of silos of different benefits and vendors and towards more of thinking about the employee experience in their life moment. So having the benefits meet them at that moment in their life. So instead of asking the employee to say, here, go to our internal resource and figure it out on their own, really help manage navigation around moments like starting a new role within the organization, getting married, relocating for the company, working on continuing education, or even preparing for their retirement. And Circles helps act as a guide for those employees, helping them navigate the ecosystem that already exists, but in a very personalized one-to-one approach way. And in 2025 alone, that led to more than 1,800 referrals to existing Fidelity benefits, things like childcare, elder care, financial wellness, insurance, and general wellness programs. And employees reported saving 4 hours each time they engaged with us for those referral services. And so, if you look at this, the broader takeaway for us is benefits simply by themselves don't drive retention, right? They drive retention when employees can actually use them. And we know usage of those benefits only happens when the support shows up at the right moment, at the right time, and meeting that employee where they are in their life. So instead of being a statistic of offerings, benefits become something much more dynamic and personal in that kind of structure. And that's where we see the real impact, turning benefits from something employees have into something that they actually use. And I'll pass it back to Kathy now to cover our third and final trend.
Yeah, yep. And that Fidelity, I think, is a really great example of this hybrid model with on-site and virtual that's really supporting employees wherever they live and work and achieving really significant results. So, okay, last trend. Everyone's heard of return to office challenges since COVID. So integrating hospitality and concierge services can really improve the employee experience and entice people back to the office. These can be offered in person or remotely. There's a term you may or may not have heard called hotelification. So that's really where helping to design a 5-star office destination by enhancing amenities and events that really align with the employees' needs and desires, and helping to achieve the return to office initiatives that they have. So Craig is going to now talk about an American energy company that is a client of Circles and the successes we've had there.
Yeah, I think, Kathy, thank you. We're especially passionate about this return to office, working with our clients, because, yeah, as we know, during and post COVID, this was the hottest topic for every kind of senior leader and executive, as organizations try to make that shift. And so a good example was Chevron. And so we know that in general, return to office mandates, they can drive attendance in the short term, right? People need to adhere to it. They deal with it after being in a remote working situation for a while. But long term, right, engagement's going to drop, and they become disinterested because they're going back to something and they're being told to do that. And so what we're seeing in leading organizations like Chevron is that they're offering something in the workplace that can't be replicated at home, right? And at Circles, we kind of call that earning their commute, earning the employee's commute. And so for Chevron, I think they took the stance early on that it wasn't going to be about return to office compliance or mandates. It was about how do we build that experience to make it something exceptional that employees want to come back to. So working with Circles, we launched a community manager program, as well as a digital concierge program centered around 2 things: creating connections and removing friction for employees. And that showed up in a couple of different ways in terms of how we deployed it. The first was very intentional programming that actually brings people together. Things like home garden expos, team building events, travel showcases, seasonal experiences that help create energy in the workplace. But more importantly, they're bringing employees together around not always necessarily a work-related topic. And then secondly, we brought in like practical services that make the employees' everyday life easier, right? Now that we're asking them to come back and bringing them back, how do we make life a little bit easier since they've been at home and for the past couple of years? Things like on-site car washes, haircuts and barbers, even partnerships with local businesses that employees are already using. Small conveniences that help reduce the life load employees carry into the workday. What Chevron found is that when the office becomes more useful, more social, generally more human, employees absolutely naturally want to be there. They gravitate towards that kind of environment. The organizations succeeding with return to office aren't enforcing presence, right? They're designing workplaces very specifically that are worth showing up for. And if you take a step back, the common thread we see across these 3 trends really isn't more programs, benefits, or perks. It's about friction, right? The organizations that are getting this right are systematically removing friction from employees' daily lives, and that's what's driving the underlying engagement across these organizations.
That's great. Thank you. So before we go into questions, I just want to thank everyone for attending. We're going to be sending out our recent 40-page workplace trends report, which is filled with insights, actionable strategies on workplace flexibility, battling burnout, creating community, and modern benefit trends. So now I'll pass it back to our shortlister team.
Great. Thanks so much to both of you. That was such a great overview. And, when we were talking last week, I said the same thing. I mean, I think anybody at any level in an organization would think of most of what you offer, if not all, as true perks. And I think, Craig, when you said that employees don't just want more benefits, and then you talked about if they have this benefit package, how do they even navigate it, right? I mean, I think when I was in the formal employee world, it's the same thing. It's like I didn't even know I had some of the benefits I had. So it's either not communicated correctly or I just don't have the bandwidth, right? And so to me, a lot of the services that Circles offers are about that, not having the bandwidth to do my whole life, my business life, and then all those other things that get in the way, right? Like as
Yeah.
simple as errands and picking up, I mean, it sounds simple, but it's not if you look at your day and realize there's a big hole somewhere that you haven't been able to get to. So that whole, the travel agencies, the pet care. I know a lot of friends who get stuck and can't go on a trip because they don't have anybody to take care of their animal. It seems so simple, but it's not. So
Yeah, and you
kudos.
throw in kids and taking care of older aging parents and trying to have a
Exactly.
life of your own and work on your health and wellness. It becomes overwhelming very quickly.
Well, and they say that the caretaker role has become bigger and more common, right? Whether it's for older parent, a disabled person in your life, whatever. I think there's so much all the time. I will tell you that when you were talking about the trends, Kathy, the thing I wrote down and put a big star by was quiet cracking. I
Yeah.
found that just because I think of that myself. People say, "How do you do this?" sometimes, and I'm thinking I'm not sure. But on the outside, I look like I'm doing just fine, right?
Mhm.
So
Very true.
I
Yeah.
I love that term. Honestly, I'm stealing it. So good on you guys. That was really a great presentation, and we do have questions that have come in. So let's see how many we can get to with the time we have left. Uh, and this is a fairly simple one, I think, to start out. How much does it typically cost to implement Circle services for a mid-sized company like 500 to 2,000 employees?
Yes, we get that question a lot from brokers. They're looking out for their clients and trying to assess whether, these are good benefits to introduce, which we think they're pretty cost effective. So just to give everyone an idea, we price it on a per employee per month. So for our virtual programs, virtual concierge only, and then virtual concierge plus errand running. And by the way, errand running is very, very popular right now with our clientele. So 500 to 1,000 employees for virtual concierge is about $6.50 PEPM. And then if you add errand running to that, it's $14.50 PEPM. And then when you get into 1,000 to 2,000 employees, the virtual concierge drops down to $4 PEPM. And then with errand running, about $8 PEPM. Now, there are caveats to that. So particularly with errand running, there's certain limitations, maximum number of errands per person per month, there could be monthly caps. The concierge is unlimited requests for the workforce. So, we can, provide specific quotes based on the demographics and the head counts if a particular broker has a client they're interested in.
Perfect. It sounds like really the best thing is to run by sort of their demographics by one of your folks, right? Just so
Yes,
they can,
yes, for sure.
yeah, so they can know And again, I did want to point out, which I forgot to do, Kathy and Craig's contact info is right in front of you. So you've got an ability to get in pretty high up there at Circles and touch the people that have presented today, which I think is really important. Okay, let's get to another question. What's the typical utilization or measurable impact clients see within the first year?
Yeah, that's another great question that we hear a lot from brokers. The work-life balance programs generally have a pretty high utilization, so a good return on investment for our clients. It's usually 30 to 35% of employees engage with our services annually, and active users are submitting anywhere from 7 to 8 requests per year. So in comparison to some of the other benefits that employees put in place, we feel that this type of utilization and engagement is really high level. So we're, and we do a lot to promote that with our marketing team and in our account management team.
Perfect. And that sounds like a good engagement rate to me. Again, talking back on our navigating program, this sounds like it's easily accessible on top of it, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, here's a good one. Do you have case studies or references from clients?
Yeah, we have many, many case studies and references. Some of them are, we shared today on our call, but we have lots of different clients in lots of different industries. On our website, circles.com, you can see we've got a lot of industry case studies, and certainly references are available, upon request for any of your clients.
Yeah, and for those case studies, not only do we have them by industry, but you can see various pain points within them, right? So if you have a client that's struggling with employee retention, or one that's struggling with productivity and high stress levels, or return to office, right? A lot of case studies are framed around a specific client pain point that you can find on there as well.
Yeah.
That it's good because it's so different per client, especially these days. And the discussion that you all had about return to office is still out there, right? I mean, we've been out of COVID for a while, or out of the pandemic for a while, but I know there's companies still struggling with that. Okay, this is a good one too. This looks like, one of the brokers is looking for some help on positioning your program with clients. So the question is, how can I position Circles to clients who think their current benefits package is already comprehensive?
Yeah, I would say it probably is comprehensive, right? Maybe to one of my earlier points for the trend, I would say look at it holistically, more around where we can meet those employees at different stages of their life, right? And specifically looking at utilization, even of existing benefits, right? Because there's these wonderful benefits out there where you see really, really low utilization. And even a lot of times we get asked, like, give me what's the difference between Circles and the EAP that I have, right? And I would call out a couple of things. Number one, the EAPs are generally looking at 2 to 5% utilization. As Kathy mentioned, we're 30+%, of interaction with employees. And then I would say, EAPs can generally have a concierge light component, meaning they can do some referrals, but there's the experience is lacking. There's no personalization, and they can't do the full service booking and coordinating like Circles can. So you're only getting a little portion of the actual benefit. And then I think lastly, looking at positioning Circles more around kind of both the workplace experience as well as enhancing their benefits package, right? supporting employees throughout their workday is another way, an angle to consider it and look at it.
That's great. Now, if you can answer this quickly. Oh, sorry, we're out of time. I just looked at the clock. Well, we do have a couple additional questions. I just wanted to let the two of you know that we'll get those to you. Okay.
Great.
So everybody out there, you will hear from the team from Circles. So thank you to your entire team. You guys have been a delight to work with, and I wish you the best with your follow-up. For our attendees, we always appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule. And again, remember, you've got Kathy and Craig's contact info sitting right in front of you. So with that, we have reached the end of our time together. Again, thank you all for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you on the line for our next Meet a Vendor webinar, Wednesday, March 25th at 1 p.m. Central. Until then, take good care, everyone, and have a great rest of your day.